I never had on my bingo card that one of the debate co-moderators Thursday night is a guy who repeatedly compared Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler. Honest to gosh. How do you handle that? How does Trump deal with going up against not only his opponent, Joe Biden, but the debate co-moderators from CNN? My gosh. What a fascinating week we're in for. Hillary Rodham Clinton is sounding the alarm, writing op-eds and screeching about how Biden is at a disadvantage because of the job of the president. He's got to sound presidential. Oh, okay. Is that what he's going to sound like? You know, if they treat Trump the way CNN treated Karoline Leavitt yesterday, you're going to see how bad this is going to get. Now, there's no reason to believe that the way Kasie Hunt treated the Trump campaign spokeswoman yesterday on TV is going to lead to any kind of better treatment of Donald Trump Thursday night. I made a rule. I issued an edict a couple of weeks ago. Emperor Mike decided to issue a mandate from his throne. I don't want to play any more clips from CNN because, frankly, all it does is infuriate you. On the other hand, you got to know what we're up against. You have to be aware of the rigged, uneven playing field. So Karoline Leavitt, who we've had on our show before, she's a campaign spokeswoman for the Trump campaign. She appeared on CNN. She only made it about 2 minutes before the host, the anchor, whatever you want to call her, the journalist, quote unquote, Kasie Hunt, had enough. Here was that exchange.
It takes someone 5 minutes to Google Jake Tapper, Donald Trump, to see that Jake Tapper has consistently frequently likened President Trump to Adolf Hitler.
Ma'am, I'm going to stop this interview if you continue to attack my colleagues. I would like to talk about Joe Biden and Donald Trump, who you work for.
Yes.
If you are here to speak on his behalf, I am willing to have this conversation.
I am stating facts that your colleagues have stated in the past.
Okay,
now,
I'm sorry, guys. We're going to come back out to the panel. Karoline, thank you very much for your time. You are welcome to come back at any point. She is welcome to come back and speak about Donald Trump, and Donald Trump will have equal time to Joe Biden when they both join us now at later this week in Atlanta for this debate.
Now, let that sink in for just a moment. This woman looks into the camera and says, we will allow this public figure, this Trump campaign spokeswoman, to appear on our air when she says what we want her to say. I mean, that's exactly what Kasie Hunt, who once laughed and joked about Rand Paul getting brutally, viciously beaten by his neighbor. Remember that little ditty? Remember that the dingbat who went on television and said, this is one of my favorite stories? That was her. That's that same person. Rand Paul, with all the health problems he had and the broken ribs and this guy went through an agonizing ordeal because of his lunatic neighbor who came over and beat him up. And that woman who cut off Karoline Leavitt called that one of her favorite stories. I wouldn't want her husband or boyfriend or herself to ever endure the physical trauma that Rand Paul went through, but she was celebrating it. So that's who she is. And she told her audience, we will allow Karoline Leavitt back on TV when she answers questions the way we want her to answer questions. When she speaks the way we instruct her to speak. Incidentally, Karoline Leavitt was on the Benny Show online and addressed the way she was treated by Kasie Hunt.
And it's just his words. That's the thing, is all I was doing was repeating his words, his opinions that he has so confidently expressed on air for the last 8 years. but they don't want other people to call attention to that during this week because they are still trying to uphold this false reputation that they are an unbiased news network, which anyone with honesty and integrity can see that they are not.
Of course they're not. Of course they're not. And again, I'm lifting my block CNN rule for one day because you got to hear. And I, honest to gosh, if the stakes weren't so high, this would be just comedy. This would be like some satirical movie that the co-moderator of the debate Thursday night compared one of the debate figures to Adolf Hitler repeatedly. Here's Jake Tapper in the past.
The dehumanizing rhetoric of Adolf Hitler is once again alive and well on a national political stage. This time, of course, in the United States. Donald Trump, a couple times over the weekend, referred to immigrants from South America, Africa, and Asia. He did not mention Europe. South America, Africa, and Asia as, quote, poisoning the blood of our country, which it's not hyperbole. That does very directly echo Adolf Hitler's language before World War II. To open up a copy of Hitler's Mein Kampf, you would find the Nazi leader describing the mixing of non-Germans with Germans as poisoning. There's really no other way to say it. Donald Trump's language mirrors this directly.
There you go. That's one of the debate moderators Thursday night. and you know, Trump was between a rock and a hard place. He wants to debate. He's anxious to get on the debate stage. I can promise you Biden doesn't look forward to this. He's got everything to lose, and Biden is against the ropes. The New York Times poll just came out. In all the swing states, Trump is ahead. Again, let it sink in. Trump is the odds-on favorite to win on November 5th. But it could all change with Thursday night's debate. And I believe that. I think it's that important. This debate could be a game changer. The entire election could be decided by this bizarre process that we're going to call a presidential debate. We've never had a debate this early. Usually it's in the fall, right before the election. We're 132 days away from the election. But depending on how these two men perform Thursday night, it could very well. Listen, Biden hopes it's the game changer that he needs. And the game he needs to change is trailing in all the polls. He's got, in a way, everything to gain and nothing to lose. Welcome aboard. It's a Tuesday episode of the Mike Gallagher Show in the Relief Factor Studios, 800-655-MIKE, 14 past the hour, one open line. Join me. What do you think? Am I overstating the importance of this debate? Are you ready for it? You're going to watch? Do you think we ought to avoid it? Will it impact the outcome of this election in a legitimate way? For a change, we're not going to see election interference. Finally, we're going to see a somewhat legitimate process that is going to be tainted by the illegitimate performance of Jake Tapper and Dana Bash. I don't know a lot of things, but I can promise you, Friday, when we all get together to analyze what we saw the night before, nobody's going to be saying, well, that went well, that was fair. They were really even-handed in the way they treated Donald Trump. That's never going to happen. Let's get your take front and center here on this caller-driven show. 800-655-MIKE, 800-655-6453. I hope you join us.